That was Attorney General Merrick Garland's interview today with NBC News' Lester Holt, confirming he is following the January 6th committee hearings and they are doing an extremely good job. I'm joined now by a member of the January 6th committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He was the lead impeachment manager in Donald Trump's first impeachment trial. And Congressman, I think you've been as outspoken as anyone about your view that there is something here for the Department of Justice to investigate, that there is abundant factual predicate for a criminal investigation. Today, we have reporting by the Washington Post that apparently they are doing just that Donald Trump is being investigated as part of this criminal investigation. What's your response to that?
Well, it's hard to read too much into what the Washington Post disclosed. It said that, witnesses are being asked questions about the president's role. That doesn't necessarily mean the president is under investigation. You would expect that witnesses would be asked about their interactions with anyone involved in the plot to overturn the election. But look, I think the Attorney General today was saying all the right things. And I noticed a difference, at least I perceived a difference between what he'd been saying earlier about focusing on all those involved in the attack on January 6th, and now talking more broadly about the overall plot to overturn the election. So I would hope that if the department is truly following the evidence wherever it leads, it will recognize it has been leading to Donald J. Trump.
I want to just have you expound on that a little bit, because I caught that too when he said basically people, I think the terminology criminally responsible or criminally responsible for the attempt to stop the peaceful transfer of power between one administration to the next, which is a more expansive view of what the crime was, I think, than what we had seen before. But it sounds like you think that caught your ear as well.
Absolutely, it did. And frankly, this was the main criticism I'd had previously about the department. That is, yes, it was doing an expansive investigation in 50 states of all those who participated in the attack, those who conspired in a seditious way about the attack. But it was very focused on the violence of January 6th, which is obviously of keen importance. But there were multiple lines of effort to overturn the election. And some of those other lines of effort, the president on the phone with the Secretary of State in Georgia, pushing him to find 11,780 votes that don't exist. The president telling people, just say the election is corrupt and let me and the Republican members of Congress do the rest. That says that there are other actions beyond the violence of that day that need to be investigated. And today it sounded like that's what the department is doing.
One of the lines of investigation the department's pursuing, we know from legal documents, subpoenas that have been served in public reporting, is about the fake electors. And the fake electors have been the subject of a lot of work by the committee as well. We've learned a lot from your committee about the fake electors. I want to just read you this email the New York Times obtained from a Trump lawyer that kind of lays out what this is all about and get your reaction to it. This is a lawyer named Jack Walenchik to Boris Epshteyn, says, we would just be sending in fake electoral votes to Pence so that someone in Congress can make an objection when they start counting votes and start arguing that the fake votes should be counted. Then later says alternative votes is probably a better term than fake votes, smiley face emoji. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, all of this is really key evidence of intent. That is an intent to defraud, the voters, to defraud the United States of the results of the election. It's, in writing, people acknowledging, okay, these are just fake. We're going to present these fake electors as a pretext to allow people in Congress to try to stop the transfer of power. All of these things where there's an admission that, okay, there isn't evidence of fraud. Giuliani's comments, well, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have any facts. These are really what, as a former prosecutor, you look for in terms of evidence of criminal wrongdoing. As a member of Congress, we look at in terms of the blatant effort to corruptly overturn this election and stop the peaceful transfer of power. Those emails, pretty damning in the language they use, and also others talking about trying to keep it hidden what they're doing.